Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining today's webinar, e-invoicing in the UK, what AP and AR teams must know. This webinar is presented by Simtrax in collaboration with the Accounts Payable Association. My name is Mihir Verma, and I'm a solutions consultant at Simtrax, and I've been working with SaaS and AI solutions for more than 6 years now, helping different companies on their digital transformation journeys. I'm joined today by Janine Stapleton, Sales and Marketing Manager for Simtrax Limited.
Thank you, Mihir, and a warm hello to everybody joining us for today's webinar. As Mihir has kindly introduced me, I'd just like to share that Simtrax operates across 8 global offices, and today we're coming to you live from our London office, where Mihir and I are based. We hope you find today's session informative. If you have any questions, please add them in the question section and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar. I want to introduce you to Kat Moy, Head of Education at the Accounts Payable Association. There you are, Kat. Yeah, nice wave you gave there. Kat will co-present with us today, and many of you already know Kat. She has spent years working with AP and shared services team. So thanks for joining us today, Kat. We appreciate it. Back over to you.
Thank you for having me.
Sorry, Kat.
It's all right.
Thank you so much, Janine, and welcome, Kat. As many of you will know, the UK government is currently exploring e-invoicing through HMRC consultations. This could soon become a compliance requirement, and it's important for businesses to start preparing now. While e-invoicing is often seen as a technology change, in reality, the biggest impact will be on finance teams, especially accounts payable and accounts receivable. And in this session, we'll summarize the most relevant information from credible sources, so you can and your team can be better prepared and make the right decisions for your organization. So without any further ado, let's get started. Before we begin, here's a quick look at today's agenda. We'll start with why e-invoicing is such a big topic right now and some of the recent developments. We'll then explain what an e-invoice actually is and the different formats, obviously. Next, we'll look at e-invoicing in the UK, the consultation so far, and the different models used around the world, including the one the UK government is exploring. From there, I'll cover why AP and AR teams need to work closely together on this project and why businesses should think about a holistic multi-country approach. We'll then show you a demonstration of Simtrax automated solution, the Complete Invoice platform. And finally, we'll wrap up with a Q&A session. So let's dive in. E-invoicing is now a global trend with more than 80 countries having some sort of mandate in place. In Europe, the major development is the VAT in the digital age, or commonly referred to as VIDA package, that was adopted in March 2025. It will be rolled out gradually until 2035, requiring EU member states to introduce mandatory invoicing under certain conditions. Several EU countries are already moving ahead. For example, Germany and France have published their timelines for mandatory adoption in B2B exchanges starting in 2025 and 2026, respectively. In the UK, the government is consulting on invoicing to boost productivity, cut business costs, and simplify tax. They're also exploring different models, whether to mandate it now and how it could basically fit with existing business systems. Over to you, Janine, for a quick poll.
So we'd like to hear from you, our audience, what the term e-invoicing means to you, because this has different meanings to different people across different departments. So really, what does it mean to you? And here is the poll. So when you hear e-invoicing, what does it mean to you? Please select one. It's for AP, processing supplier invoices. It's for AR, sending customer invoices and staying compliant. It's for both AP and AR, and you're not sure and need more clarity. So please go ahead. I'll give you some time to cast your votes. Okay, be interesting to see this answer. I've closed the poll and let me share it with you now. Wow. Wow, that's a great response. It's for both AP and AR. And that's quite surprising to me because when I speak to people across AP and AR, they often have different views of what e-invoicing means to them. Kat, if I can just ask you, what does the term e-invoicing mean to you?
Hi. Yeah, great question. And I've loved how you framed it with that poll. When I hear the term e-invoicing, my instinct definitely would be option C. It's for both. From the accounts payable perspective, e-invoicing streamlines how invoices arrive and are processed. Instead of dealing with paper, PDFs, or manual entry, the data comes in a structured format that goes straight into the system. That means fewer errors, faster approvals, and a much stronger compliance. But then on the other hand, for accounts receivable, it's just as valuable. Invoicing helps suppliers send invoices in a way that's more reliable and trackable. They know the invoice has been received, it won't get lost in the post, and payment can flow much faster. So really e-invoicing, bridges the gap between AP and AR. It's not really just a tool for one side of the transaction. It's about creating a shared language that improves efficiency and compliance and trust across the whole supply chain. And that's why I always say, don't think of e-invoicing as an AP or an AR tool. Think of it as a business tool that one benefits both sides of the table.
Okay, well, we've heard from the expert today, and thanks for that, Kat. Yeah, that's quite a in-depth answer. Yeah, so a little bit for us to think about. And I think Mihir is going to share a little bit more about what e-invoicing is from our side.
Thanks, Janine, and thank you, Kat, for the detailed insights. As defined on the UK government consultation page, e-invoicing is the digital exchange of invoice information directly between buyers and suppliers' financial systems, even if those systems are different. The final outcome is that the invoice is automatically entered into the buyer's system without any sort of manual processing. Now, when we talk about e-invoicing, three things matter. First is the format or the structure of the invoice itself. Second, protocols, how the invoice is basically transmitted across systems. And third, norms and regulations, basically the rules that define what fields and details must be included depending on the country or industry. So in simple terms, unlike paper invoices or sample PDFs sent via email, invoices are created in a structured format such as XML or UBL. These invoices are transmitted through set or agreed protocols like PEPAL, SFTP, or APIs. Most importantly, they must follow defined rules. For example, in some countries, the tax rate field or the buyer's VAT ID is mandatory. And if those fields are missing, the invoice will be rejected. You'll hear us refer to the term UBL several times in this presentation. It stands for Universal Business Language, an XML-based format used by the NHS. We'll go into more detail in the later slides. Now, let's look at some of the different types of invoices. First, unstructured electronic invoices. These are digital files like PDFs, JPEGs, or Word documents. The challenge is that the data must be read manually by teams or via optical character recognition, or commonly referred to as OCR systems, and sometimes re-entered into another system, which is a very slow and error-prone process. Now, in contrast, a structured electronic invoice, as I explained earlier, is created, sent, and received in a standard format such as UBL or PEPAL BIS. And these formats allow invoices to be processed automatically without any sort of human intervention. They're not designed to look nice on screen, but rather to be easily understood by systems. And it doesn't matter if the sender and receiver use different software systems, as long as both can process this structured format of document. Finally, there are hybrid invoices which combine the two approaches, structured and unstructured. A good example is FactorX in France or Zuckford in Germany. These formats embed the structured data inside a PDF document, so you get a human readable document along with a machine readable data. So now what you see on the screen is a simple example of a structured e-invoice. You'll notice it contains the same key fields you'd usually see in a PDF invoice, things like invoice number, dates, supplier details, all other fields, etc. The difference is that all of this information is organized in a machine readable format, as I mentioned earlier. And we'll go into more detail, understand how this works in the next few slides. Over to you, Janine.
Thank you. And I've remembered to not mute myself. Let's have a look at how e-invoicing has developed in the UK so far. So what do we know? Back in May 2019, regulations were introduced and required public procurement bodies to be ready to accept electronic invoices. Then from April 2020, this applied to all public bodies, which meant suppliers had to submit invoices in line with the European standard, which is EN 16931, which sets out the required content and structure for an electronic invoice. To make it more concrete, the NHS moved its entire supply chain to the PEPL network in 2019. That meant NHS trusts, such as hospitals, now require their suppliers to send invoices electronically through PEPL using the PEPL Biz 3.0 format, which is based on UBL. And by rule, those invoices also need to be archived for 6 years. So you may be asking yourself, what is PEPL? Well, PEPL is a secure international network that lets organizations exchange electronic documents in a standardized way. It started in the EU and is now used in 37 countries, including the UK, France, Germany, and the Netherlands, as well as places like Singapore and Australia. Today, it's one of the most widely adopted frameworks for e-invoicing worldwide. Recently, the HMRC, together with the Department of Trade and Business, launched a public consultation on B2B e-invoicing. The aim is to explore how e-invoicing could be standardized in the UK and whether it should be eventually become mandatory or remain voluntary. Through this consultation, the government is seeking views on which e-invoicing models might work best, whether real-time reporting to the HMRC should be included, and what steps could help drive wider adoption amongst businesses. So in terms of timeline, here's the latest update we have. Okay, so we'll start where the consultation began on 13th of February this year, giving businesses, trade associations, and technology providers the chance to share their views. For example, the Institute of Chartered Accountants in England and Wales has suggested starting with voluntary adoption of e-invoicing, with any mandate delayed until 2030. The consultation closed on the 7th of May, and at the moment the government is reviewing and clarifying submissions, and which will shape an e-invoicing framework that would best be suitable to the UK. This review is expected to run until October this year. Okay, then in November 2025, we anticipate that the Chancellor's autumn budget will include an announcement of the proposed regime with details of how and when a full mandate could be eventually introduced. So at the moment, we kind of have to wait for the outcome and see if there are any definites of voluntary or mandated e-invoicing in the UK.
Yeah. As part of the consultation, the government is also looking at different e-invoicing models and considering which one might work best for UK businesses. Globally, two main approaches are used. centralized and the decentralized models. In a centralized model, the tax authority has full visibility of every invoice. However, it can be very expensive and complex for governments to implement. The UK government has already stated it does not plan to explore this model in detail. In contrast, the decentralized model, which you see on my screen right now, such as the 4 or 5 corner models, works differently. Here in this model, there is no central hub. In this 4 corner model, what happens is the supplier first creates the invoice in their system. The chosen provider formats and validates the invoice. The invoice is then sent across the network to the buyer's provider. And finally, the buyer's provider delivers it to the buyer's system for matching and approval. Status updates flow back, so both sides know basically where the invoice stands. This model is already in use in countries like Australia, and from January 2026, it will also be adopted in Belgium. In some decentralized models, the government is also a part of the process, as you can see on my screen now. Instead of just supplier and buyer exchanging invoices through their providers, a copy of the invoice data is sent in real time or almost real time to the tax authority. This way, the government can track transactions as they happen. And examples of this approach can be seen in Hungary and South Korea. So if the process currently used for NHS supplier ever gets extended to B2B invoicing in the UK, companies will need to manage both sides, that is receiving invoices from suppliers and sending invoices to their customers. So let's go back to the definition of an invoice. It's a structured document, as I said, usually in an XML format that can be read and processed automatically by systems. And in this schema that I'm going to show you now, the center of the discussion will be you and your business. Let's start from the accounts receivable side. You take an outbound invoice from your ERP system, convert it into the required XML format such as Universal Business Language or UBL. And then the question is, how do you send this invoice to your customer? That's where you need to ensure you use the right transmission protocol, for example, PEPAL in this case, which is also, as I said earlier, used by the NHS to send that modified invoice to your customer. Next, from the accounts payable side, you need to be ready to receive invoices from your suppliers in the specified XML format, and then use a protocol, just as you did on the AR side, to ensure your system can receive and process these invoices. So the idea that invoicing makes life easier only holds true if you have two things in place. A, the ability to send and receive invoices in the correct format, and B, the mechanism to exchange them with your suppliers or customers. Without these, you'll end up dealing with multiple formats, protocols, and validation rules, which makes things more complex for you and your team rather than easier. Now I'd like to invite Kat to share her views on the most important aspect of our discussion today, that is AP and AR collaboration. As Janine stated earlier, many of you will already know her as the head of education at the Accounts Payable Association, and with her vast experience working closely with different teams. So over to you, Kat.
Thank you, Mihir. As already touched on earlier, from my experience working closely with both AP and AR teams, I can tell you that e-invoicing isn't just an AP issue or an AR issue, it's something that connects both sides of finance. So let me share a few reasons why collaboration between teams is so important. So first, e-invoicing systems, easy for me to say, will cover both AP and AR workflow. Whether it's the UK chooses a decentralized model or a real-time clearance approach, it's very likely that the same platform will be used to send and receive invoices. That means AP and AR will need to align on how the system is set up, how invoices are validated, and how many exceptions are handled. Secondly, Both teams are responsible for data accuracy. Structured formats like UBL or C2I don't leave much room for error. An invoice with missing or inconsistent data, whether sent out by AR or received by AP, will simply be rejected. So having a single source of truth for supplier and customer data becomes essential. Thirdly, regulatory changes will affect both sides at the same time. As rules evolve, whether it's new formats, updated protocols, or additional tax reporting requirements, AP and AR need to stay aligned. If one side adapts and the other side doesn't, you run the risk of bottlenecks, errors, or even penalties. And finally, and maybe most importantly, this directly impacts your supplier and customer relationships. If AP rejects invoices because of formatting issues, or AR sends non-compliant invoices that delay payments, trust suffers on both sides. But when AP and AR work together, you get smoother, faster, and more transparent invoicing, which protects both business relationships and cash flow. That's why I believe collaboration between AP and AR isn't optional in an e-invoicing project. It's the key to making it successful.
Thank you so much, Kat. Now, let's look at some of the adjustments AP and AR teams need to plan for with e-invoicing. I'm going to start with outbound invoices, which are handled by the accounts receivable team. Let's start with the invoice format transformation. So this isn't as simple as turning a PDF document into an XML format. Formats like UBL or C2I often require data that sits across different systems. And honestly, managing that can be a real headache. Let's try to understand this using a real example. Under the latest PayPal rules, if you issue an advance or deposit invoice, the final invoice must reference that deposit invoice number. Now the question is, does your ERP actually track those partial payments and generate the right invoice references automatically? If the answer is no, you'll hit compliance errors. And remember, these rules keep evolving as new type codes are introduced regularly. So the challenge isn't just generating XML files, it's making sure your system can keep pace with all these updates. Adding industry extensions and item codes. So the standard invoice format is just a starting point. In reality, many industries and large customers have business specific requirements and need extra fields. One of the most common requirements is with units of measure. Let's say today your ERP shows box as a unit when you're selling goods. Under the PEPAL and EN 16931 standards, you can't just write box anymore. You need to pick the correct code from the official list. And if your system isn't able to handle this properly, your invoice will once again fail validation. Tracking and control, you should be able to trace every single invoice, when it was sent, how it was sent, what it contains, whether it was delivered successfully, and its current status. This gives you a full audit trail of that invoice. Now, let's move on to the inbound invoices managed by the accounts payable team. Supplier invoices will arrive in structured formats that your current system may not understand. You will need a solution that can read and validate them, and then finally route them through AP automation for 2 or 3-way matching, and then finally posting those invoices into your ERP. And lastly, support for multiple protocols, and this applies to both AP and AR. Your invoicing system must be flexible to accommodate whichever transmission protocol your trading partner requires. Now, whether that's EDI using AS2, PayPal, or HTTPS-based API connections. So, to summarize, the key questions you need to ask are: can your ERP handle all the required adjustments? Does it fully match your business needs? And if upgrades are needed, what effort and cost would that involve? Often, the reality is that constantly upgrading an ERP system isn't the most efficient path. A smarter option is to connect your ERP with an external SaaS solution that can handle these adjustments for you seamlessly without disrupting your existing setup. In practice, both AP and AR are equally impacted by e-invoicing. AR teams need to issue compliant invoices across different formats and countries, while AP teams need to ensure they process these invoices reliably. Yes, having a mandate raises the stakes, but it's better not to wait. Start preparing now by first automating your AP process, your two-way, three-way matching process, and then gradually moving on to the AR side as well. I do understand all of this information can feel overwhelming at first, but don't worry. At Simtrax, we can guide you and support you with the right approach and make the transition smooth and compliant. Over to you, Jenny.
Thank you, Mahir and Kat. We've heard from both of you, how e-invoicing can affect both AP and AR and how the two should align to just enable a smooth rollout of a project and to get your e-invoicing into working mode. It's very interesting to see how the business side and the business functionality and how Kat spoke on that, and the technical side that Mahir shared really has to be in collaboration. So thanks to the both of you for that. I just want to talk a little bit more about the timeline of e-invoicing mandates because it affects all of us, even if it is coming from Europe, and that's where we're looking today because it's in close proximity, and also how it's going to lead over to the UK should that become a mandate. So let's have a little look at a snapshot of what's coming from Europe. In Germany, from January 2025, every business must be able to receive structured e-invoices. Belgium will make B2B e-invoicing mandatory from the 1st of January 2026 through the PEPL network, which we've spoken a lot about today. Poland will also go live in 2026 with a phased rollout, and in France, all companies will be required to receive e-invoicing from the 1st of September 2026. Other countries, including Spain and Greece, are moving forward with their own B2B e-invoicing plans. So this timeline, you can well understand, will continue to expand across the region. In each country, the mandate applies to domestic invoices, not cross-border ones, and that's quite an important point. As a UK company, you are not legally required to send or receive invoices in the country-specific format. However, it is good practice to be prepared, as some of your suppliers may choose to issue invoices in a structured format, and you would be required to receive these and process them. So at Simtrax, we offer a solution called Complo Invoice Platform, which can easily convert these files, helping you save time, reduce costs, and maintain strong business relationships. We also have local offices in other European countries if you'd like your teams to connect with them. In fact, our specialists sit on the advisory boards for e-invoicing and consult with respective governments. So thank you for hearing about that and what's coming. Yay, it's time for a poll. I can give everybody some time to be involved. Okay, so the question of this poll is, where does your organization currently stand on e-invoicing? So please select one answer. You're working with a provider and making good progress. You're working with a provider, but facing some challenges. Number 3, we're still evaluating potential providers. And lastly, we're trying to manage e-invoicing in-house. So please go ahead and cast your votes, and we'll see the outcome in a few moments. Okay. Okay, I think we've got majority of people that have voted, so I'm going to close that poll and I'm going to share the results with you. Let's have a quick look. Okay, so 29% are already working with the provider, making good progress. 14% are working with the provider, but facing some challenges. And 57% are still evaluating potential providers, and I see nobody is attempting to manage e-invoicing in-house. I can well understand that. Yeah. So, Kat, I know that you have some interesting statistics for us from a survey that was recently run.
Yeah, so obviously here at the Accounts Payable Association, every year we do a benchmarking report. So it's filled with questions, a plethora of questions across the board, all things accounts payable, payments, future state of accounts payable, all those good things. And we actually asked our audience, what are the biggest barriers to e-invoicing adoption? And our survey came back with a whopping nearly 40% said integration challenges with existing systems. 33% said a lack of supplier adoption. 27% said limited internal resources or budget, which I mean, I think with cost of living crises and NI tax bills and things, I think that has really hit our profession quite difficultly because we're usually the last ones to get any kind of budget at all. And then 1.1% said regulatory complexities. So very, very interesting statistics which kind of complement this poll
what we've been,
as well, I think.
Yeah, the poll and sort of what we've been going through already, because the complexity of an e-invoicing project and the different mandates in different countries, it is mind-boggling. And if you don't have somebody to assist you with that, it's quite difficult. It can become quite a headache. Yeah, so I think also you spoke on integration. And here we'll touch on that as well, that integration between systems, because they don't speak the same language, if I could say it that way, which should be easy for people to digest. It becomes a bit of a nightmare. So you've got to start thinking ahead and start planning and have the right partner on board to assist you with all of that. So thanks for sharing. It's quite an interesting benchmarking survey you did there, and one that's actually quite handy, gives you a lot of insight. Thanks for that, Kat.
Absolutely, thanks.
So much, Janine and Kat. Now, let me explain why having one unified holistic platform such as Complete Invoice platform really matters for your business and your organization. With a solution like CIP, you can manage both incoming and outgoing invoices in one place because first, it's one tool for all markets. You don't need to run separate solutions for each country. Second, you get consistent data. Invoices from different formats are converted into a clear standard format. All of those invoices visible in one central dashboard or interface for you and your team. And third, you stay compliant. You always have a full audit trail and reliable reporting, whether invoicing is voluntary or mandatory. And why is this important? Many UK headquartered companies manage their European operations from here, and having a single platform makes it much easier to keep every subsidiary or sister company compliant and scale without any extra complexity. And when the UK mandate arrives, whether that's in a year or two, CIP will already have you covered. For now, we can set up an automated process without disrupting the way you currently operate. CIP can basically capture invoices from any input source, that is PDFs from emails, supplier portals, or even manual scans. Uh, Standardize these documents, fetch information from these documents, and then accordingly feed them into your regular workflows for two-way or three-way matching. So if the UK government decides to extend the same model that's used by the NHS, that is PEPAL, BIS, and the UBL file format, for wider B2B or B2G use. Businesses will need to be ready, as I said earlier. And what I'm going to demonstrate next is how CIP can support you end to end. We'll start with generating an invoice from an ERP system and transforming it into the UBL file format. You need a system that can help you do this. Next, we'll take that invoice and send it through PayPal, embed the QR code and all the necessary details as required. Then all invoices submitted via PayPal to your customers should be tracked through a central dashboard for visibility and compliance. And finally, you'll also be able to receive and process a UBL compliant invoice from a supplier, validate the data, and then run it through a three-way matching process. So let's get started with the demo. Let's begin on the accounts receivable side, where we prepare and send customer invoices. So what you see on the screen right now is a standard XML file. And for this demo, I have converted the XML file into a UBL format, which is the standard used by NHS e-invoicing as well. And the goal here is to show you how it's structured and what the different components look like. So let's go step by step. If I read the first line, it says XML, and accordingly, I can also read the version 1.0. And then there's the specification of the UBL file, which I just highlighted. Then scrolling down, I can see the UBL version 2.1, which is the latest version of the UBL document as well. Scrolling down, I can see the different components, different parameters like invoice ID ending with 9195. And then there's an issue date, and also an invoice period and supplier party if you are the one issuing the invoice, and then the customer party details as well. All of it visible to you in a machine readable format, although you can read it. So as I mentioned earlier, these files aren't really designed for humans to read line by line. They're created to be read and processed by machines. And in practice, you won't be working directly with these raw files. Your ERP or your solution partner will handle them for you. Now let's move on and actually create an invoice. For this demo, I'll be using SAP ECC 6. Just to note, this is a dummy invoice, and my goal here is to show you the full end-to-end flow. So you can see how it would look once it's implemented in your environment and how your team would basically work with it. So let me just enter the username and password. And then once I log in, I will be entering the T code for SAP ERP, which is VF03. I'll then enter a billing document number, once again ending with 9195. And then these are basically the components or the description of the invoice. Going back, the next step will be to issue the output from SAP ECC ERP, for which I'll correct the correct the right option. Now I want to pause here and highlight this step because this is where the Simtrax team comes in with the necessary configurations. We've set up a logical path from SAP so that when an invoice is generated, it's automatically picked up by our internal modules, and the format is converted in the background. And then using the right protocol, in this case PayPal, the invoice is transmitted. You won't see this process as it runs in the background. What you're going to see is the final sent invoice directly on Complete Invoice platform for tracking. Now, let me show you the CIP interface. Complete Invoice platform is a SaaS-based solution, so your team can easily access it using their credentials, an email ID, and a password. And in this demo, SCIP is integrated with SAP ECC 6 through APIs. CIP is also fully secure, ISO 27001 compliant, and you can even log in using Google or Microsoft sign-in, depending on your organizational preference. Most importantly, you can add as many team members as you want to on this platform. So now I'm going to enter the credentials and click on the sign-in button. Once I sign in, I will be able to see a side panel with all the different parameters. In this, for the purpose of demo, I'm going to go directly on the Send Invoices tab, where I'm going to see all the different fields such as customer name, invoice number, invoice type, the different currency, and then the processing date and time as well, which is going to be made available to you. I can basically click on the three dots made available to me on the top right hand side, and by using this this one of this filter, I'll be able to customize and basically adjust the visible columns as per my preference. So I can see that the invoice that I was working upon, ending with 9195, is now finally sitting successfully in the Complo Invoice platform. I can see a 36-digit invoice ID, which means the transmission was a success, which can also be reflected, which is also reflected in the action status button. And if I wish to see the email, I can click on the view email tab, and this is where you can see the final templatized converted invoice in the format as you prefer, with a QR code, with all the necessary details as you require. And the invoice can also be downloaded for your reference directly from the Complo Invoice platform. So at this stage, the invoice has been successfully sent to your customer party. And what I'm going to show next is the accounts payable side of things. So let's move forward. Okay, let's move on and go ahead with the accounts payable side. Uh, Yes, so in this part, I've once again picked up a structured UBL file, but my objective here is to show you how CIP can read and process inbound documents. And this is again just one demo example, but whether it's C2I, PEPAL, or any other format, CIP has the technology to extract the information and simplify the process for you. So now let me go back to the Complo Invoice platform module and then upload the file onto the platform. Uploading is just one example. In practice, invoices can also arrive by email or through a supplier portal, in which case they directly go into the interface. So now, since the invoice is successfully uploaded, I'm going to go in the received invoices section. And here you'll be able to monitor and track all the different invoices that have come from different sources. Just making use of one of the filters. Obviously, there are many more for you to work. When I click on the source button, I can basically view and work on e-invoices from a specific region or from a specific country. In this case, there's Malaysia, there's PDP, or it could be any country in Europe for that matter. So if I click on those select filters, I will be able to view those specific invoices. Okay, so now the invoice details have been extracted. The structured invoice is now made available to me in a readable format, in a human readable format. So on the left hand side is the invoice document, and on the right hand side is the extracted information from this very document. Okay, so let me just compare and review the information one by one. I can see that there's a customer information field, then there's a vendor information field. I can verify that the details are correct. And it's good to know that we just do not compare the details from what's available to us on the invoice. We actually go ahead and verify these details from your ERP vendor database. So in this case, the one of the parameters such as IBAN details is actually verified from SAP ECC 6. And if there was any error, say the bank account details had an anomaly or discrepancy, the software would flag this for you. So you can basically put a complete standstill at this stage if you wish to. The software can handle both invoices with and without PO. And then on purpose, I have made a discrepancy in the document in the invoice due date. When I click on this button right here, the software would basically correct it as per the payment terms made available in the ERP database. So as you can see now, it's corrected, adjusted as per the 14 days, which was there in my ERP. Now I'll go ahead with the three-way matching process. I can compare the details from the billable quantity, the PO quantity, and also the delivered quantity. All of them look in sync to me, and I can confirm that the three-way match is a success at this point. There are also different parameters such as attachments, where you can upload any miscellaneous documents if you wish to for future references. And then there's other request section, where you can basically write to different team members across board. And one of the important functionalities for which this can be used is to seek clarification on goods receipt note. And as I said earlier, there's no there's no cap on the number of people that you wish to add on the Comply Invoice platform. So you can use this functionality freely to talk to any of your team members. We also have an events section here, with the help of which you can basically track every touch point, basically who has worked on this invoice and when, at what time. This also makes it clear who to approach if an issue comes up later at the time of verification. Now I'll go ahead and integrate the invoice. This will basically synchronize the invoice details and updated status with the SAP ECC 6.0 ERP. So you can view the latest status directly on the ERP system as well. Now, moving ahead, CIP also has an easy to use dashboard that gives you a clear view of all the AP and AR data. For CFOs and leaders, this is important as it gives a clear bird's eye view of what's exactly happening in your firm. And you can filter using different filters, such as for a specific year or for a particular month, or for that matter, any specific business site or for a specific subsidiary. All of this can be configured as per your specific business requirements. In this, for demo purposes, what I've configured here is to basically show you details for average processing time per vendor, and also details of late paid invoices. All of this can be tracked in a very intuitive way for you and your team to view and work upon. We also have a turnaround TAT report through which you can basically track different parameters. In this case, let me show you the average processing time, and this can be compared per vendor. I can basically look through and understand if there's a specific reason why for which the invoices for this particular vendor is delayed, and then accordingly I can also review the same per user. So if in case I point out that there's a particular user that's taking longer than usual in processing certain specific invoices, I can obviously go and approach them and understand if there's any specific issue, or for that matter, any upskill that's required for my team to better perform at their roles. Okay, so this is basically where the accounts payable task ends. And for just for an information, we also offer a solution called Complio Archiver, which obviously I haven't shown today due to time constraints, but this tool stores all the different invoices and attachments securely for easy access. And in the UK, as I said earlier, invoices must be archived for 6 years, and Complio Archiver makes sure you can do that and stay compliant. Over to you, Janine.
Wow, Mihir, I just want to say thank you for the demo, but from both sides, the AR and the AP side. And I was watching you quite intently, so that's why I didn't have much movement going on in the background. But what I can say is that what you showed today, doesn't cover all the capabilities of CIP due to time constraints. But what you did show in the demos was quite a granular level. What I mean by that is that you were showing step by step the process that you executed. And I think because you're showing it step by step for us to understand, it's important to note that a lot of this can be automated if required. And also that some steps, like when we send it to PEPL, the automation runs in the background, so you can't really view that during the demo, but it is happening. And it's what Simtrax and CIP takes care of for you. So thank you for that. It was quite a lot for you to go through. And if anybody wants to better understand, please get hold of Mihir, and he will perform a customized demo for you. So I just want to let you know a little bit more about Simtrax, the company who we represent, who we work for, and that has presented the webinar to you today. We are a global company with offices in the US, UK, France, Germany, India, and Singapore. Our solutions are built to adapt to country-specific mandates. As regulations evolve, we ensure your business remains compliant while keeping processes simple and scalable. With over 3 decades in the business, we've built flexible solutions for organizations across many industries and countries. Our technology continues to evolve with our customers' needs. Because of our global footprint, we're available 24 hours to assist our customers whenever they need help. And we hold major technology partnerships with Microsoft, SAP, and IBM, but we do remain ERP agnostic. And beyond e-invoicing, we also specialize in automating data and document exchanges. This includes validation and signature processes, converting documents into different formats, and modernizing exchanges by leveraging APIs. To wrap up, here are some key questions you should ask yourself, just to better gauge your role in e-invoicing and the projects going forward. Do you handle large volume of inbound or outbound invoices, or do you handle both? Are these invoices domestic, international, or both? Do you have a business-specific requirements that your invoices need to reference and adhere to? And most importantly, can your ERP handle all of these needs easily? An external SaaS solution like Complo Invoice Platform can offer these requirements and integrate seamlessly with your ERP. So I also just want to speak about, the complexity of e-invoicing, because it covers different countries, and each country has its own mandates, dedicated protocols, and specific formats. So it can be quite a daunting task. I know you've touched on this, both Kat and Mihir. It can really be a daunting task to tackle, but don't worry, you're not alone. Simtrax is a specialist in e-invoicing, both on the AP and AR side. We're here to help you. And of course, the Accounts Payable Association has a world of knowledge that they can share with you as well. So thank you for that. And I believe that Mihir is going to share some of his contact information with you.
Thank you, Janine. Before we proceed to our final section of Q&A, here are my contact details. Please feel free to reach out if you're interested in learning more about e-invoicing and what we offer. More than happy to discuss your needs and set up a tailored solution demonstration for you and your team.
Oh, thanks, Mihir. So I have been keeping an eye on the questions and questions section that we have open for everybody to ask questions. And we do have a few, Mihir, and I believe we have a few minutes to answer some of them.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started. The first one is quite a good one. It's quite a common one we get asked is an e-invoice sent via email an e-invoice? So I'll let you answer that, Mihir.
Yeah. So it's quite a nice question, good question. Not always. A simple PDF or Word file sent via email is just a digital copy of a paper invoice, but hybrid formats about which I spoke about earlier in my presentation, such as FactorX or Zuckford, FactorX in France and Zuckford in Germany. These formats embed the structured XML data inside a PDF document and are then recognized as invoices. So the answer is not always. It will depend on the type of document, basically.
Okay. Next one is, do I need to learn XML coding to send an e-invoice?
Thankfully not, and that's where your solution partner should step in and do the necessary heavy lifting. At the end of the day, you should see invoices just like you do right now, while the system or your solution handles the XML file in the background for you.
That's a relief, Kat. I don't know how you feel about going back to school and learning XML coding. Yeah,
No,
not
no.
comfortable. No, not
Not
up your
for me.
street, not up my alley either. So I'm glad that, you know, we won't have to learn XML coding to send an e-invoice. Okay, so if every country has its own format, do I need a separate solution for each one? Oh, that's quite a good question.
Uh, yes, and not necessarily, not if you choose the right partner, right solution provider. And a good solution can basically help you transform your invoice, basically what you receive, the raw documents from your ERP, convert it into the right format depending on the country requirements. So you don't have to manage 10 different tools. All of these invoices can be tracked and can be managed in one single platform, which is precisely what we do in Complete Invoice platform right now.
Okay, I'm just having a quick look because I know we've got a few minutes left. Let's see if I can find a few more that are applicable. What happens if my ERP doesn't support some of the fields required by UBL or PEPL?
That's where a smart solution like Complete Invoice platform steps in and helps you and your team members. We basically sit between your ERP and your customer suppliers and do all the necessary transformation that's needed. Now that as I explained earlier, converting that raw file into the correct format and then using the right transmission protocol to send it to your customer. And on the on the other side, when it comes to receiving these structured formats, you once again need the correct protocol and the setup in order to receive what's there in that document. So that's where a smart solution like CIP will help you and support you in all your uh, processes.
Okay, so this is quite a good one. If both my supplier and I use different ERPs, do we need the same software to exchange e-invoices?
No, and that's the whole point of using common standards and transmission protocols like PEPAL. Uh, with the help of such standards and protocols, different ERPs or different systems can talk to each other seamlessly, as long as obviously they follow the agreed format, agreed protocols. And it doesn't matter at all if you and your supplier or your customer are on different platforms, on different solutions, as long as you both have the capability to read and exchange information.
Okay, I think we have time for just the last one. Mihir, we were speaking about archiving invoices and the rules in different countries and how long you have to archive them for. This question is, does e-invoicing mean I no longer need to archive invoices?
Uh, no, in most countries in Europe, e-invoices must still be archived for several years. For the UK, it's right now 6 years for NHS suppliers, and the difference is you archive the structured file format that I initially showed you, and not just a PDF document. During audit, you need to present a readable version of that structured document and not just a standard XML file. And as I mentioned earlier, Complio Archiver, one of our one of the archiving tool by Simtrax, helps you store these documents in a safe and secured environment. And this can be hosted on your environment or with us. So that's a choice that we give you. So I hope that answers your question.
I have more questions. There's some about different ERP applications and with Complete Invoice platform being able to connect with it. Unfortunately, we are out of time, so I can't answer any more questions. But we do know who's asked these questions, and we will reach out to each and every one of you to answer those questions and help you with any other information that you need involving e-invoicing and going forward. So I would just like to wrap this webinar up. I'd like to just give my thanks to both Mihir and Kat. Mihir from Simtrax and Kat from the Accounts Payable Association. Thank you so much for joining us today, for giving your time and expertise, giving us great explanations and walking us through what e-invoicing is and the possible UK mandate that's coming along, how that affects our businesses and both the AP and AR, and what they should know really to get ready for e-invoicing, not only in the UK, but across the globe really, and specifically with the Europe, which is in close proximity to us. So without further ado, if there's anything you two need to add, please do. Nothing to say. Are you
No, just
all
thank you for having me.
Yes.
are you
So
all
happy to.
talked out? I can imagine. Thank you so much once again, and this concludes our webinar. Thanks for joining,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.
We'll see you next
Bye.
time. Bye-bye.
Bye.